Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Let's Max Warframe. Today we're going to be joining Digital Extremes in celebrating their 2-year anniversary by taking a look at maxing our brand new 2nd anniversary gift, the dual sword Dex Dakra. So how do you get your hands on these Dex Dakra? Well, it's very easy. All you need to do is to log in between the 25th of March and the 1st April, and you will get these delivered to your inbox along with a free slot and catalyst installed. So since they're free weapons given to everybody, they're going to be weak, right? Well, actually no. They come with 65 attack damage, with the majority, 52, coming in the form of slash, and the rest being split very equally between impact and puncture, making this the hardest hitting dual sword weapon in the game, equal with the always impressive Cronin. Speaking of features that the Dex Dakra shares with the Cronin, the slide attack damage is the joint top highest in the game, making it very impressive while slide attacking. In addition to this, with the above average status chance of 20% making status builds possible, the Dex Dakra really is something that can be built on. Not only this, but they also come with a slam attack that, whilst it doesn't knock down, it staggers them with impact procs, with what seems to be a chance also to get a blast proc, allowing the Dex Dakra to have a very nice crowd control ability as well. Let's be honest though, it does come with some fairly reasonably large downsides. With an attack speed of just 0.8 attacks a second, it's far from being the quickest of the melee weapons, and the lack of a decent critical chance at just 10% means that Berserker isn't really an option either, unlike a lot of the other slower, harder hitting melee weapons. The stance mod does seem to alleviate the speed issue slightly, and actually seems to speed up the Dex Dakra, so that speed really doesn't actually feel anywhere near as slow as it should do. Another fairly hefty downside to the Dex Dakra is that with a stamina cost of 12, this is going to sap a huge amount of stamina from the frame very quickly. So while a lot of other melees can get away without a specialist melee build, the Dex Dakra really does benefit from a high stamina frame build. Now, I would normally talk a little bit about the stance mods. However, with the dual swords, I really don't think there is a single best stance, and it actually comes down to pretty much entirely personal preference. I quite like the combos in the Swirling Tiger stance, so I've not actually changed the stance a lot at all. However, I know some people prefer the combos from Crossing Snakes. The only thing I can suggest here is to try out both stances as you're leveling, to see which that you prefer, because whichever you choose is going to decide whether you need to put on an extra former or not. Okay, so let's move on to starting to mod the Dex Dakra. Now, we do have a dash polarity or standard on the weapon. However, we're going to add 2 former to the weapon. We're going to add a V and a dash. Now, we've got a whole bunch of mods that are going to remain the same between all 3 of our builds. We've got pressure point for damage. We've got primed reach, which does make a big difference on the Dex Dakra. I really enjoy having this on here. It really helps to hit multiple enemies, especially when you're doing those slide attacks. We've also got Fury on here to increase that attack speed, which only brings it up to 1.1, but it really does make a difference. We've got Buzzkill to increase the slash damage, and we've got Live Strike on here. We've got it maxed so I can channel once, get 1 hit off, and be back at max health. I prefer to do this. I don't really like channeling. Too many Warframes rely on their powers to survive, especially at the higher level. So having an ability that requires you to constantly channel, or even the weapon to constantly channel to get damage done, I'm not a big fan, because you end up losing quite a lot on your frame. Now for our Aquannia build, we're going to go with Virulent Heat, so that's Fever Strike and Northwind, and we've got Molten Impact for heat damage on there as well. And we've got Shocking Touch and Northwind and Fever Strike for magnetic and poison against the Corpus. And then Fever Strike, Shocking Touch for corrosive, and Molten Impact for the units in the Void. Now if you're running corrosive projection auras in the Void, or indeed anywhere else, then Fever Strike and Northwind and Molten Impact for that viral heat combo is going to be best there as well. So on to my recommendation as to whether it's worth maxing the Dex Dakra, and the answer is a fairly unsurprising yes it is. Bearing in mind that the weapon is free for this period and already comes with a catalyst, it's very easy and very inexpensive to max. A single former is all that it needs, unless you decide to go with a status build instead, in which it doesn't need any at all. The Dex Dakra are a perfect blend of the slide attack with decent base damage, with a pretty decent damage output at the end of it. The problem these days, especially when it comes to looking at melee weapons, is there's pretty much two schools of thought with the melee. Either it's amazingly good maneuverability like the dual Zorans, dual Kamas, or even the Torpedo, or it does really epic damage with Berserker to prop up the slow attack speed, like the Galantine or the Sindo Prime. Now, if you take this into account, it's very difficult for any new melee weapon to break into the game, and become one that is going to be used regularly. So do I feel the Dex Dakra fits into either of those categories? Well, with one of the weakest directional melees I've seen in quite a while, and that attack speed limiting coptering ability, it definitely doesn't fit into the maneuverability category. Damage wise, I do think it does enough damage to be considered in that damage category. I mean, sure, it doesn't even vaguely hold its damage when compared to the melee beasts like the Sindo Prime, Galantine, or even the Orthos Prime. However, it really does hold its own, up until a reasonable level. So in effect, decent damage, great slide attack, a radial attack, fairly slow and heavy on the stamina. The Dex Dakra really are very interesting weapons, and definitely something I'd consider putting into my arsenal, if I could ever put down the Orthos Prime. As always guys, many thanks for the support. Please remember to leave a like and subscribe, it helps me out a ton, and I shall see you in the next episode.